This audio was recorded for the Heads and Tails Mental Health Project with Chilli Studios.
Okay. Interview commences. Is it working?
Yes, it's working.
Okay.
Sorry.
Definitions of the term insane have a potentially inherent danger of being negative, biased, prejudicial and damaging, and can be quoted as facts about insanity, especially in academic circles, which can have a direct impact on things like legislation and social conditioning. This can be very subtle and persuasive. The words not normal, abnormal, strange, etc. can be very powerful, evoking feelings of unease and discomfort, as in the Collins Dictionary definition of insane. This puts me in mind of The Outsider by Albert Camus, a book about a character found guilty of murder, not based on the physical evidence, but on the notion that he was strange, different, odd, and not following social expectations of what normal is. It's interesting as well that people in desperate survival situations may exhibit what could be loosely interpreted as insane behaviour, maybe as a way of confusing the person or creature that's placing them in danger, and as a kind of, possibly as a kind of survival mechanism. I can give an example of that, maybe. Yeah. One night I'd had a few drinks with friends, and as on walking home, I'd bought a pizza on the way. I had opened the box and had started eating the pizza. A group of young lads happened to be walking the same way, and one of them turned to me and said, "Can I have a piece of your pizza?" I said, "No, you can't." And he said, "Well, you're going to give me your pizza or I'll break your neck." I looked at him and said, "Okay, do it." And he just walked away confused. True story.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting that insanity is as a coping mechanism or as a mechanism to deal with the situation. Yeah.
Sometimes where normal doesn't work, or social normal doesn't work.
Certainly, what I've alluded to in mine is certainly where people stretch normality, like you could say that sort of like a cultural periods like the 70s or something, was where people were considered to be very much on the outside of being crazy behaviour that suddenly then takes society, suddenly brings it forward a bit, and a lot of that, some of that behaviour anyway, is suddenly considered normal almost. Yeah.
It's kind of like the, I guess, all language, but in terms of the English language, it's very organic and open to change and growth, which happens all the time. So maybe the term normal, the term insane, are all kind of terms that kind of change depending on society, I guess.
See?
It depends on class and who you are. I couldn't walk down the street dressed up as the House of Lords gear and stuff like that. I'd be immediately called insane, wouldn't I?
Well, yeah.
But the House of Lords, people dress up the same way, and that's normal.
It's eccentric. Eccentric is a term that I think really says, that eccentric is almost like a class. You can see it only belonging to a certain class, that term.
Yeah, eccentric, yeah. If you lower class, then you're a weirdo. If you're upper class, then you're an eccentric.
Yeah.
It's funny, it's one example I can give as well, is I used to teach people with adults with learning difficulties and disabilities. And I remember it was when I first started doing it, I was supporting another tutor in South Shields at the John Wright Centre. And obviously we were in that environment. I was there for the morning, for the day, but it just seemed like, just natural. Well, lunchtime came and we went along the road with the students to get some fish and chips and, takeaway stuff. And the tutor I was with turned to me and said, "What's happened? It suddenly feels very strange." And I kind of got what you meant, because the people with the learning difficulties weren't in the natural environment of the centre. They were suddenly in public. And I think it was a sense that they seemed to stand out compared to the people around them, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I suppose to be able to make any term, you need the opposite, or what's it called? What do they call it in science, where they have the testing.
Yeah,
what's that word?
I know what you mean. The control.
Yeah,
that's
like that.
yeah.
So to be able to test something against, so to be able to test insanity, you must be really sure of what normal is.
Yeah.
But there's no way to define what normal is anyways. So
No. It's a construct, isn't it? But it might be interesting to look at in terms of at some point as to
what is the majority?
comparative normality.
Well, as a mathematical definition, it's the line that goes through the middle of a normal distribution curve.
But wouldn't it be the majority that would be classed as normal?
Exactly.
That's where the majority lies.
If you look at
That's
these
exactly.
days, it's people that are classed as mentally ill that are in the majority. So wouldn't they be the ones that's classed as normal?
Yeah. So everyone in this centre, in this project, are normal.
What are the statistics then of what you're talking about? Because I wonder what the statistics are to support what you're saying, because it's quite interesting.
Because you've got people with depression and everything as well. That's classed as mental health. The thing is, they can do things that's classed as out of the ordinary, quite just strange and that still. When things get too much, it's pretty much with anything. I mean, if you look at how many people in this country have got mental health problems, and you've got the other countries and the ones that don't even have support and stuff.
Or if you talk about normal behaviour as well, if you say that getting angry, for example, is a deviation from normal behaviour.
But that would be classed as normal because it's classed as part of an emotion.
So is that normal then?
That would be classed as normal to get angry.
Really?
Yeah, I think that
Because there is situations that
anger is a normal reaction.
It's how you deal with it, that isn't normal. It's how you deal with it, whether it's normal or not. Smash someone's face and that's not normal.
Just to say that anger is normal behaviour.
There's
If you say that, then you're almost saying that.
Yeah, there's the really subtle things in society as well, which I think often get overlooked. And it's like when you go, say, for example, you go into Costa.
Sorry, we're just being interrupted by someone standing, just being
giant mouse between the walls.
Piss off!
It's like you go into Costa, for example, and you go in and you're kind of self-conscious and you're looking around because you've just gone in, everyone's in there, you're the outsider coming in, and you're looking around, you're just trying to see if there's a chair, table that you might like to sit at, and you're going to order something and so forth, and you feel that people are sort of looking at you and things like that, Then you sit down, and after a few minutes, you got your coffee, you're looking out the window, and all of a sudden you're part of that crowd. And then someone walks through the door and people look at them and they're feeling self-conscious. But you're not, because you're already, you know what I mean? It's like...
I would be too self-conscious to go in there in the first place.
Yeah. But it's a very subtle thing. But people do it all the time. It's like getting on a bus, for example,
It's almost like saying that anything is normal then, really. Feeling uncomfortable is normal.
Yeah.
Feeling angry is normal.
Yeah.
So,
Probably didn't just say that.
should we keep reading around? Do you want to read yours? Do you want me to read yours?
You can read it. I've marked off where I'll start from this time. Just
what you said about the number of people defines mentally ill. It's still only 1 in 4 though, isn't it? It says it becomes mentally ill in a lifetime. So it's still only 25%, which leaves 75%. I know it's high, but it still leaves 75%.
I was born mentally ill.
75% that haven't admitted it yet.
I was born mentally ill. I mean, how is that fair? You know what I mean?
I think that one in 4 is a little bit of a misnomer. It's a very accepted statistic, and everyone seems to accept it.
51% of government.
Yeah, but when you think about it, there's quite a lot of people with really severe mental health problems. There'll be people who kind of family or carers, unpaid carers involved, and they will suffer from anxiety, maybe depression, partially as a result of being in that situation. So you could argue that it's higher than 1 in 4.
But also, does that 1 in
because
4 include people with addiction, for example?
Yeah.
Or other ways that people turn to different things to deal with their mental health.
Yeah.
Addiction is one. Extreme sports is one. Snooker could be one.
Yeah.
But
It's video games and
The thing what you said is what about in different countries? Somebody that's speaking from Iran, he said, well, why is there so many people in this country with mental health problems? It doesn't happen.
Because in some countries they don't even acknowledge that mental health problems even exist. So these people go untreated and everything like that.
It's kind of, I guess, what it used to be like here, not so long back as well.
But what triggered him saying that was he saw somebody getting off a bus with slash marks all over their arms. So I presume that comes as a shock to him.
Right. Okay. Let's.
So from here.
Yeah.
So this is
The continuation.
the continuation. We heard the first half of this. This is a story.
Oh, right.
And this is continued, maybe imbibing a bit of this as well. Yeah. It took me a bit of time to recover enough before I could get to my feet. I stumbled forward towards the window. I could see the haze was still present outside the window. Had duct tape stuck to the seams. The closer I got, I could hear that the screaming hadn't stopped but had increased. I stepped forwards more. Are you sure you want to know how bad it's gotten out there? Just I truly wish I didn't. Stephen spoke. I replied, I think I'll need to know. A blood-curdling scream right outside the window. My stomach drops. Stephen steps back, his face now white as a sheet. Fear grips me, not knowing what was there. Now a large rumbling from every direction, getting louder, closer. Banging, howling, now coming from behind me. I stop, take a deep breath, building up the courage to look. Slowly I start to turn. The whole house begins to shake. I fall to the floor, my eyes now wide open, staring at the window. I could not believe my eyes and will never forget what I saw. It was nightmarish, to say the least, but so familiar, as if I recognised what I was seeing.
Let's got that.
Still not seeing what it is.
You don't know what it is. I think I said it. I think it reminds me of a lot of that. Jekyll and Hyde, and the sort of, which is, I'm just linking it as well back to what we're talking about, because that period of time was where the pressure cooker of Victorian society was was really trying to make everyone normal, and so in literature and other ways there was springing up with these monsters, and the monster within us, and this kind of trying to get to understand the parts of us, so I think it's really interesting that I think in a lot of those, the story that is like almost horror, isn't it? That's coming out, and that threat, and
It's not meant to be horror.
Isn't it? Is that just a?
It's going to be a romance.
Oh, right, cool.
What the fuck?
But it's interesting that the monster, that's the way
There's no
that
monsters.
people have. There's no more. Well, we don't know. Yeah, is it just
Well, you
his girlfriend or something?
you saw Shrek. Shrek. The donkey was getting chased by the dragon, and then the dragon and donkey fall in love. No, that tells you.
I've just had a thought. I don't know what these statistics are, but in the creative sort of industries like acting, writing, fine art, things like that, there's an awful lot of famous writers, artists, etc., actors have got mental health problems. I tend to have a belief that there could be a connection between creativity and insanity, or so-called insanity. And it's funny how the mental ill health is frowned upon, and yet anything creative is sort of almost worshipped. And yet it's maybe as that an element of that mental health problem, as it were, that's part and parcel of that creativity being so good, so great.
Well,
you know
have
what
to
I
have
mean?
some sort of eccentricity to try and be yourself, because creativity is always about like individualism.
Yeah.
But if you haven't got individualism, there's no point in you doing creativity, because creativity will never get anywhere if you're like everybody else.
Well, exactly. So in that case, it's not normal, sort of, to the good
There's a lot
creativity.
of clone creativity.
But you have to have some sort of individualism to be that creative in the first place.
I mean, the most successful artists and art movements have been worshipped because they were incredibly different or odd or strange in some way to the norm.
Yeah, they kind of take the picture, well, the normal, and they mix it up, don't they? So that we see things in different ways.
Yeah, yeah. So it's a kind of to sort of frown upon someone who's got a mental health problem, who is also creative, is a kind of hypocrisy in a sense.
Well, I remember seeing a program about someone who I think it was it was about different people with different mental health. So there was one. There was a guy who was bipolar, but these are who have it's been harnessed, used in their job really well. So he was bipolar, and his bosses gave him this kind of free rein. So when he was really kind of very passionately following something that was part of his job, they just let him go, and until he burnt out, and then they let him just not come in for a bit. But it's just interesting to see that actually within something like that, it's not being used in the way that it could be. Or you might have a situation, I'm generalising wildly here, but you might have a situation where you have someone, and there's a romance about, say, people with Asperger's or autism, isn't there, that they should be amazing with numbers, or but quite often there are.
There are
certain strengths or certain things that someone is predisposed to, and it's about finding that out and harnessing
there's also that sort of famous kind of saying that it's a fine line between genius and insanity. Genius is like, genius, Stephen Hawking's or whatever, but insanity is like, oh no. Yeah, maybe you can't have one without the other in some sense, you know what I mean?
Sherlock Holmes, isn't it? That sort of, he's...
Well, he's got autism or Asperger's, hasn't he, Sherlock Holmes?
I'll read mine. I wrote two, but I'll read one of them. Insane, a tiger biting flood ball, crying, shatter, shutter, splintering mountain feet, stinging necked cockerel bead. No homework, no frame, no itinerary, no can you, will you. Blue seats, white lights, white walls, blanket cheeks. Pink chalk drink, link thoughts link. Definition boy, hang on to its rusty chain and you'll be right again. Sorry, I lost the flow there at one point. Do you want to read yours?
Yours.
Yeah.
Were you thinking of McDonald's or somewhere? That's the picture I got.
McDonald's?
Yeah.
No, wasn't it? Was that the cockerel bit? Or
all of it, I thought you just described McDonald's from the pink drink, chocolate drink and like milkshake or something, white walls or whatever. Don't make a point of going in there, but somebody sitting there with a rusty chain on or something.
No, I touched on the I got into the white lights and the white walls. There's this bit where Sylvia Plath is I think she's been ill or potentially, or maybe one of the times where she tried to commit suicide, she was in hospital and everything's white, and she's really, really happy because there's nothing challenging her, even visually. And then I think someone brings tulips or something like that, and they're red and they're alive and they're dangerous and they're, you know, passionate, and so they affect her, and she just wants it to be white, and you know. So I got there and then I realised that that's what I was doing. So then I tried to turn away from that.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Was a rusty chain
Well, definition boy. So was like a life boy. So it's like you know, you're in this.
Oh, I thought it was
craziness.
somebody sitting in McDonald's. You know, I thought that you were referring to one of the customers who was just trying to define himself.
I was kind of doing both. Well, not McDonald's, but life boy and boy. Like in Wales.
Oh,
Everyone's
right.
like boy after they say everything, like, especially if
yeah.
like you want to sort your act out, boy. So there's that.
Boy,
but that,
wasn't it?
boy, yeah. But also that thing that you're nothing or you're mad without a definition. You know that actually definitions reduce everything. So so as soon as something is defined, it becomes normal.
Yeah.
So insanity is normal because it's defined.
Yeah.
I don't know. That's kind of, yeah, maybe not. But that's kind of what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you want yours?
Well, it's like when you define something, you're excluding everything that isn't in that definition.
Yeah.
When you define label a person, then anything that isn't in that meaning,
Yeah.
you're not considered to be.
But you're not taming it. Do you not tame something by defining it to some degree?
Well, that would be altering it. If you define something, you're not supposed to alter what you're defining, are you?
But you're altering what you define by defining it.
You're altering your perception.
Yeah, perception. Yeah.
But you're not altering the object.
The object.
you're defining.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you're not making something sane. You're making a perception of a person reduced.
And not to mention that everyone has maybe their own interpretation of a given definition.
Yeah. Because you can say it, but what does that mean
Yeah.
It's getting pretty deep now.
Oh, yeah, right. Maybe we should write a thesis or something.
Okay, do you want to do yours?
Black Rod knocks at the door. People in fur and wigs are hiding inside. Outside, people are all dressed the same. They don't say what they want to say. They say what they think will make other people accept them. They get their morals from people they think are better than them. They use their language. They refrain from using their own. They only think what others think. They only say what others say. They only do what others do. They pay £1,000 for a device so they can ignore each other with it, impressing each other whilst doing it. They pay to advertise Adidas and Nike. They sit in front of a screen and are told what to think. They then regurgitate those opinions to each other. It's not I think, but I've been told to think this. They hold events of mass intoxication in order to escape from being so normal. Then they think they are insane, but they are just still normal. They must be normal to go back to work after it. They think that thinking a lot about one thing is obsessive. Their grass is always cut and green. They'd be lost without the washing machine. They work and play inside a cage, suppressing their justified rage. Their lives are straight and formal. Are they insane or just normal?
That's interesting.
I like the poetry at the
What
end.
you said about, well, I guess it was what I said about insanity being a form of coping mechanism. I mean, that thing about people living a normal life according to the dictates of society, and they generally go out for a weekend, get slaughtered, you know, not everyone does, but, you know, whoever's get out of their heads, it's actually a recognised term, get out of their heads. It's a form of insanity to escape the pressures and stresses of being normal.
If you
See, I
go,
always think, sorry.
doesn't matter.
No, please.
I was going to say, if you go to the doctors, you have to wait for about, I think for me, I waited for about 8 months to go for CPT. I think about 9 months to go for EMDR.
What's that?
EMDR, eye movement.
Oh, it's something to do with that, isn't
It's a counselling, but it's for like what you do. I don't know.
EMDR?
EMDR. I can't remember what it stands for. Eye movement something.
Right, I'll have a look.
Response.
I'll check.
But you know how you're supposed to deal with yourself when you're going through mental health right now. How are you supposed to deal with yourself right now while you're on a waiting list for God who knows how long? You know what I mean? I mean that's the thing. People take drugs and drink to drown their ice drink. You know what I mean? To drown out emotions because I need help right now, and nobody gives them help right now. Nobody gives anybody help right now.
And also, you know, lots of people don't find it very difficult to go and get help because,
Exactly.
you know, to actually face that.
I mean, it's alright. You know, you're going to be on a waiting list for 9 months. Well, it's not point in bloody 9 months' time. I'll be dead by then. You know what I mean?
I was thinking almost the flip side to what you're thinking there, of conformity being a coping mechanism.
Yeah.
As well.
Well, that's to fit in, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's to be accepted. So we all need to be accepted. We all need to fit in.
Yeah.
So that's why we, well, let's pretend to be normal. You know what I mean?
I like Did you use the poetry at the end? Is it almost like to show that like a framework, like to you can have kind of free verse, and then you can have this containment of what you're expected to do, as in you set a rhyme up, you have to then follow that rhyme. I don't know whether you did that on purpose as a kind of...
No, it's an interesting thought, but I wasn't that sophisticated, no. It was probably just to just to stress the whole lot, you know. It's wisely done in verse.
Oh, you should pass these on. He's writing. Appreciate it. Go.
I hear you. Mine's called The Spaces Between the Sky. The spaces between the sky, where the sun scintillates and the clouds glide. It's a crack between the stratosphere and the geography. It's a split between psychopathy and sensibility, like a glimmer between hope and despondency. The edge between love and loss. The gap is open and the doors are wide. The canaries underneath can't elevate, for the outline is like an invisible, non-existent ceiling. The eagles won't fall for fear of the tentacles that reach up and drag them inside to be swallowed by predisposition. I reach and stretch out my palm, wide and open. I try to gather light to sparkle beauty on this hell. Only then I realise I can't pass through the crevice, and I'm only 2 billion centimetres too small. It's only now, after this delusion, I can strain my legs and my feet break. My jacket unbuckles. Only then I am normal enough to relinquish the interlaces that christen me insane. Only then I saunter into the chasm light. But to me, the spaces between the sky are the safest hole of all. So the voices tell me.
Wow, that's brilliant.
Cheers.
There's a lot in there to take in.
Puts me in mind of the eye of the storm, where it's like absolutely still and quiet, yet all around us the storm, hurricane or whatever, as long as you stay in that space, you're all right.
The space between the sky.
I was doing mosaic yesterday, and I was obviously doing the sky, and I just looked at the spaces between the sky, and I don't know why that's came in my head.
It's good, it's amazing, because there's this kind of, we're used to the sky being this kind of constant almost, even if it's got different tones to it, but the fact that it's almost breaking through the membranes of reality, you know.
Yeah.
It's the earth as well, isn't it?
Yeah. I suppose she's saying that she's inside, I think she's inside an insane asylum or in an institution, and she can't really escape. There's a space between the world and where she is right now, like she's over here and everybody else is over there, and there's a space between her insanity and she doesn't know what to do.
What was that bit with the tentacles and the eagle?
The
Pretty awesome.
The eagles won't fall for fear of the tentacles that reach up and drag them inside to be swallowed by predisposition.
Very small, whatever it is, a billionth of a centimetre, you say.
I'm only 2 billion centimetres too small.
Probably a nanometre or something, isn't it?
I suppose if you reach up the sky, I suppose you would be.
2 billion centimetres too small of what?
Because when you she's reaching up the sky and she can't reach the sky
right.
she's too small to reach up to the sky to drag the sunshine into light, the hole to burst out this light. I suppose in a way the space is actually a hole inside of her, there's some sort of hole that you can't fill. You know, when you have like, I don't know, because sometimes for me, I've felt in my life that my life's not very fulfilled sometimes, and I'm not doing enough, so there's a hole inside of us, and it's getting bigger and bigger, and you don't know how to fill it, kind of thing.
So you say that's kind of inside her, this whole thing as well?
Yeah, the whole thing's inside her head, you know what I mean?
It makes me think of the inner landscape.
What's that?
Well, just, you know, that there can be actually a really vast landscape where it's actually inside yourself rather than what's outside. But, you know, I mean, the brain being how it is the mind, maybe a bit like the TARDIS, a hell of a lot bigger on the inside than it is on the outside. You know what I mean? I firmly believe that, but it's in a different sort of a way.
This is some good deep stuff going on here.
Ants, I've got a picture of an ant in a little tiny ant in the bottom of a bird cage or something. Why? Like a budgie cage or something.
This is good.
By the way, when you were reading that, I realised this was pointing at me still, and I couldn't tell you without interrupting you, so I just left it pointing at me.
Well, it would have bounced off your face. To the mic.
Bounced off his baldy head.
I was waiting for that coming.